Hi, Niro here from Investment Rise. Okay, it's been a couple of weeks now since the budget. Still has to get through the Senate, but at least the dust has settled and we can see what does it mean for property investors. Well, first of all, I must admit I thought it was a bit of a strange budget, very unlike what the Liberals are used to. I mean, there was a lot of increase in spending, sort of increase in taxes and just smacking down of big business, which is unusual for the Liberals. However, it seems to have overall gone down well with the electorate, so perhaps that was what was needed. Either way, I'm not a political analyst. I'm just looking at, well, what does the budget mean for me as an investor and for you? So let's get to the big things. First of all, negative gearing. There's a lot of noise, a lot of talk about, oh, the government's going to knife negative gearing, or what are they going to do with it? Thankfully, the Liberal government has realised that really negative gearing is not the reason why prices have gone crazy in Sydney and Melbourne over the last few years. Remember, negative gearing was around way before 2012. It's available to any investor around the country. So if negative gearing was the reason why prices rose in Sydney and Melbourne, why did they only rise in Sydney and Melbourne and not other parts of the country? And why did they only start rising so crazily from 2012? It's got nothing to do with negative gearing, and thankfully the Liberal governments at least have recognised that and haven't touched it. The other thing is, by providing an alternate means for wealth creation, for setting yourself up for retirement through property and various tax advantages, it means that there's less reliance on the government for pension payments, which is obviously a good thing. So right now, I'm not expecting negative gearing to change. If the Sydney and Melbourne markets continue to cool as I expect them to over the coming years, it will be interesting though to see whether either government touches it again at the next election. Then we have the capital gains tax. Now at the moment, if you own a property and have owned it for more than 12 months, you get to claim a 50% deduction on the tax you pay on the capital gain when you sell. Now the Labor government and many other pundits were talking about, oh look, you need to increase or rather decrease the discount because that will make prices more affordable. I can see no reason how that will work. But I guess it's popular to bash a tax discount. And again, the Liberal government didn't touch it at all. Then we come to foreign investors. There's no other way to say it. They were smacked over the head with a sledgehammer. Right? Absolutely, they're being attacked. They can't vote, so they're easy fodder for a government. And look, it'll be really interesting to see what the additional taxes, thresholds and various constraints that have been placed on property investors and foreign property investors, what that's going to do to prices here in Sydney and Melbourne. Then of course, first home buyers. Now this was supposed to be the budget that helped first home buyers. If you've seen any of my past videos, I was skeptical, and I still am, because the only thing really a first home buyer got was the ability to be able to sort of salary sacrifice in their super, save a little bit in tax to potentially accelerate the savings rate for a deposit. Really? Again, if you see any of my videos, you know I'm a numbers person. Let's look at the numbers. Assume a new first home buyer was on an income of say $60,000. And let's just say she saves the maximum allowed over 3 years of $15,000. She'd only be about $6,000 better off. I'm not sure about you, but I'm not too sure how $6,000 is going to help make a dent into your ability to get ahead into the market. Sure, it doubles if you do it with a partner, but still, in our two biggest markets, I'm not sure how much of a difference this is going to make. I really think that was just window dressing, unfortunately. Then let's look at some of the other deductions that were affected with the budget, shall we say. Firstly, from July 1, if you travel to go and see your property, you'll no longer be able to claim that trip as a tax deduction. Yeah, okay, probably not the biggest deal. Secondly though, depreciation is being meddled with. Put simply, if you buy an existing property, you will now get far less in depreciation than if you buy a brand new property. You definitely want to check with your accountant on the details of this, but it should go into your thinking, into your calculations when looking at what type of property to buy. But the biggest thing of all this budget was, and the thing I've left to last, the bank levies. If it gets through the Senate, and I expect it will, it's expected to raise $6 billion over the next 4 years. Now, we all know that the banks can afford this. However, it's not about affordability. The bank's primary responsibility is to their shareholders. What does that mean? It means that to keep shareholders happy year on year, they don't need to just declare a profit. No, they need to increase their profit. So their profit next year needs to be higher than the profit level in the previous year. Now that's going to be far more difficult when they've got this levy to pay. Unless, of course, they pass it on to consumers. Now, the government's saying, banks, don't you dare. Unfortunately, the government's a bit of a toothless tiger. They can't stop banks passing on these levy to consumers. So if I was a betting man, what would I say? I'd say expect banks to raise interest rates, continue to raise interest rates independently of the RBA. So what does all that mean to investors? Well, it means that things are changing again in 2017, with rates set to increase, depreciation changing, demand from overseas buyers expected to fall. You need to take all this into consideration when looking at where to buy and what to buy. What would I be doing? I'd be focusing on, yes, the key capital growth drivers, jobs growth, population growth, demand versus supply, but I'd also be looking at rental returns. If you cannot get a rental return or rental yield of at least 4% or higher, I personally would not be touching that property. Because unless you're on a big income, with the changes that are coming, your cash flow is going to hurt in the coming years. So definitely capital growth plus cash flow, you want to get that combination right. That's what I believe. I'd love to know what you think about how the budget's going to affect you as a property investor. Let me know in the comments fields below. Bye for now.